No.
I'm already into the 420, damn it.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
You like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. This is not much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiva grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 radio show. On Lifestyle Radio.
Aha. Oh, it didn't do it this time, Marcel.
It didn't.
No, it didn't echo.
Oh,
Huh.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yay, it didn't echo.
So welcome to the show. It's the 420
Welcome,
radio
everybody,
show.
to the No Echo Show.
The No Echo Show. Russ didn't realize we had a theme song. I could see his face.
Oh, did he like the theme song? Did you
It was
like our
cool.
song? Did you sing along?
I didn't know it. How could I?
Oh, well, we all sing along. We should put the words or the lyrics up for people.
You know what? I was watching the show from last week, and at the beginning of the show, if you don't make it large on YouTube, it automatically kicks in the closed caption because it's muted when you start it.
Yeah.
And it tells you the words right there. So,
Yeah, I know, it's awesome.
Well, I know the words and I don't sing it. So.
You'd used to.
Don't
Yeah,
feel
you do.
bad, Russ.
You
No,
do.
I just move my lips and you guys think I sing it. So.
I don't sing it. I remove my lips. Besides, we're all muted. Can't sing it. We're all muted.
I move my lips too, just in case I'm not muted. That's for your listening pleasure.
Tonight, we have a gentleman named Ross joining us, who is the author, yeah, I can speak real good, the author of the Big Book of Terps. So you're going to get Terpy talk, as you call it. I've seen you posting that all day. Welcome, Russ, to the 420 Radio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, I've got the book, even though Marcel wants the book.
Well, Marcel would read the book.
The book is called, like I said, The Big Book of Terps, and it's huge. How many pages, Russ? So
580 or so.
So it's a textbook on everything that you would like to know that we know now, because 10 years from now, I'm sure there'll be more. There'll be a part 2 about terpenes and is it flavonoids or flavonoids? You called it flavonoids earlier.
I call it flavonoids, tomato, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it just depends on. It's like cannabinoids and cannabinoids.
Oh, I love Chris doing that. Cannabinoids.
Cannabinoids.
So, we're also looking at the Big Book of Terps blog, which I'm going to copy and paste into our chat here for everybody who's listening on Facebook. Where are we? Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube tonight. We're trying different things. So there's the Big Book of Terps that we're going to be chatting about. And Darcy won't be joining us because he's got stones. He got stoned again. Okay. So I guess the best way to start this is to ask that question. What's a terpene? Actually, I'm going to ask it a different way, if you don't mind.
All right.
What I know what a cannabinoid is. That we talk about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But what's so special about terpenes and flavonoids? I mean, I guess that's the best place to start.
Well, I mean, terpenes and flavonoids are pretty different. Terpenes and cannabinoids are much more comparable. That's because most cannabinoids are actually terpenes. So we're really talking about the same thing. I wish this was a bit more known in the cannabis industry, that most cannabinoids are terpenophenolic compounds, which means that they're based on terpene molecular skeletons.
Okay. And if you had the book, you'd be able to read more into that, obviously. they are key components in cannabis and other things as well, correct?
Right. I mean, terpenes, it's interesting that we're having this discussion in such a sort of novel way, because terpenes have been well studied for a long time. They're in the air that we breathe, the foods that we eat, the medicines that we take, our shampoos, and cleaning products, paints, solvents, and just, they really sort of invade about every aspect of human society. Yet here we are having a conversation like they're novel. They're really only novel to the cannabis industry and how they relate to cannabis. And the problem in the general public with this knowledge is that they're so common that it's kind of been knowledge that isn't necessary to know when you're, for instance, using a deodorant that has something like limonene in it. But these compounds are fairly different. Cannabinoids are more complex. They're heavier molecules, so they're not as volatile as the terpenes like monoterpenes and sesquiterpenes that aren't as heavy, and they seem to be meant to volatilize and be perceived through scent receptors.
So it's about taste and smell, basically.
Taste and smell, of course. Yep. And with the flavonoids, you're talking a lot about color. Of course, there's many other compounds at work. There's your sulfurs and your esters, ketones, and alcohols. How they all play together, we don't really know, because we've been barred from studying cannabis specifically for so long now. This will definitely be emerging science for, as you were saying earlier, Al, quite some time.
Yeah. As we were talking just before we came to air, I think Marcel and I were I don't remember now. I've lost what I was going to say.
What were you yammering about?
What?
What were you guys yammering about?
I don't know. We were yammering
Marcel?
about a lot of things.
We were talking about how the science is sort of advancing. We're going to be discovering things for some time to come. We were talking about the discovery of hashishene in particular.
That's what it was. It was hashishene. Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. The technology is advancing so fast that it's getting hard to keep up. Yeah. So you just keep plugging on. So you took the route of the terpenes, and you found all kinds of cool stuff.
Well, what I find interesting is, Russ, you said that terpenes have been around, they're commonly used, and that people should be aware, and we kind of know these things. But unless you've actually done any sort of studying on essential oils or, naturopathic medicine or stuff like that, I love the smell of lavender. I know lavender makes people sleepy, but I never found out about linalool until I started using cannabis.
Right.
So I love that you have not a small book of terpenes, because that wouldn't do it justice, but a big book of terpenes to actually just touch a little bit on, what terpenes are and how many different terpenes there actually are as well.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's an important point, is that even in the essential oils industry, we're often talking in sometimes hyperbolistic kind of language. We're talking about the oil of lavender or the oil of neroli or something similar. And even in that industry, we're often not talking about what those constituents are that actually cause those scents, that are responsible for those fragrances and those tastes. And I see this a lot in particular with terpene companies that actually sell terpenes, but really what they sell are blends, and they don't even really talk to you about terpenes, not in their literature or in their sales materials. And I think that this is something that, for me, I'm very passionate about. I think the aromatherapy and essential oils industry needs to get better about understanding the science and being able to articulate the science to their clients.
I recently got one of the little air thingy machines there that you can for aromatherapy, and I find it astonishing actually how quickly those scents fill the room with.
You got a diffuser?
Yeah. It's just a little one. It bubbles up. It's actually kind of cool. I like it. It's got trippy lights on it. So,
Nice.
My house smells like terpenes too.
Yeah, mine
but those
usually
are
does
natural
too,
terpenes.
Yeah.
Well,
So, but can you actually buy terpenes? I know, I've seen on, like you're saying, online that they have terpene products, but those are not actual terpenes. Is that correct?
Right. They're usually blends, and they're saying that they're supposed to be like, OG Kush or whatever. It's kind of a lot of nonsense, especially with so many chemovars not really being stabilized. So it's tough to make an evaluation of what those products are. Now, there are certainly industrial and commercial terpenes that you can buy. I mean, you could buy a gallon of pinene for probably a couple $1,000 for commercial or industrial uses. But the terpene companies that have been taking advantage of the new trendiness of terpenes often aren't really about the individual terpenes. They're about creating the blends. And certainly there's a marketplace for that. But it's not particularly what I'm usually talking about or what I like to dork out on.
Yeah.
Dork out on.
So what do you like to dork out on? I'm like,
I mean, I spent almost 4 years reviewing every study I could find and every book I could find about terpenes. That's what I have been dorking out on, and started down this path because I just kept finding so many fascinating and just deeply interesting and sometimes troubling things about terpenes and how they're used by plants and mushrooms and animals and bacteria and viruses. And, there's a whole world of communication happening out there that we're not privy to. And it's actually the biggest form of communication in the world. I mean, this is just the very tip of the iceberg about what I can dork out on terpenes about, and everything related to it, from how bees use geraniol to how aphids use farnesene. There's just, it's nuts. It's a crazy world out there, deep, at the macro level, or excuse me, the micro level.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm excited about terpenes. I'm always interested in to find out what they can do and how they can benefit us.
Right. Yeah. Hillary asked, why does shellac smell like bananas? That's probably due to an ester, which will be covered in my next book, which is the Big Book of Keys, Ketones, Esters, and Alcohols in Cannabis.
Is this the first book that's been done like this with this much detail? Like, I mean, this is a textbook that's something that's going to end up in a university classroom, I'm sure, at some point.
Right.
It hasn't.
There is nothing else like this in the world.
Lots of words.
You sound confident because it sounds like you did many years of studying everything you could on terpenes, that there is nothing else like this.
Right.
You had to build
I've seen it. I read the books. I bought the books. I know who the researchers are. I collaborated with some of the top researchers. I know what's out there. And I created this book with that knowledge and with the knowledge of what needed to be supplemented and what needed to be disseminated to the public, and how, really focusing on making it just a readable book. Like, yeah, it's a textbook, but if you want to, you can just open it up and start reading it and absolutely find it fascinating and want to continue reading it.
If you want to know stuff about linalool, two O's, linalool.
Linalool.
Yeah, you can find out. Like, it's literally filled with this stuff that you can read. Terpenol.
Virtually every chapter of each individual compound. So, for instance, Al, you're looking at the chapter for linalool is essentially a massive review study that has reviewed all the information that's been published about linalool from all the different sources and compiled it into one place. So, for instance, it would be difficult, as of the time of publishing anyway, to find much more information out there that isn't already included in the book, from the first page, which is meant to be kind of like a flashcard that tells you all of the important details, and then the deep, intensive information about how plants are using these compounds, how industry is using these compounds, how we can use them medically. It's extremely comprehensive, and we'll be updating that probably every 2 years to keep up with new studies about these compounds. So the Big Book of Terps is probably going to continue to get bigger.
Well, medically speaking, I mean, they talk about that kind of thing in movies. I mean, growing up, in the news. I remember back when they had the movie with Michael Douglas where he betrayed the guy who went into the rainforest and came out with the cure for cancer, from flowers.
No, it was from the ants.
Oh, was it the ants?
It was the ants going into the sugar bowl.
Oh.
It was an awesome movie.
It was an awesome movie, but it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah, but he thought it was the plants. But then when he started testing the actual plants, he found it wasn't. Then he got cancer himself and cured it from using the sugar in the sugar bowl that the ants were using.
But that's all stuff that we're talking about.
They made a movie about sugar curing cancer. That sounds like somebody was trying to
they made a
the narrative there.
They made a movie about ants curing cancer. But Dale has a question for you.
What's the movie called? Now I'm going to have to watch this. Who was the actor?
You guys, I'll look for that, and you guys ask.
You look for that. I'll ask Dale's question because Dale wants to know what the aphids use terpenes for. But I have a follow-up question to that. So you go ahead and answer that one, then I'll ask mine.
Okay, cool. Dale's question is one of my favorite questions about aphids, particularly because they really fuck up our cannabis crops a lot. It's a big problem. So this is super fascinating. Aphids use farnesene, which is a terpene found in cannabis, sort of a minor, a secondary compound, but it's still there, as an alarm pheromone. So when one or more aphids start emitting farnesene, it's perceived as an alarm pheromone, and the aphids in the surrounding vicinity, particularly on the same plant, will then flee. So some plants have learned this over thousands of years, and when they are infested with aphids, they will change their phytochemical mixture to feature farnesene prominently, thereby mimicking that alarm pheromone and scaring off the aphids. It's something that I hope we could take advantage of as a pesticide.
That would be awesome, because my follow-up would be, what terpenes are attracting aphids?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I did read a lot about aphids. There's certainly blends, and this is happening a lot in the insect and plant world, where often insects are using the emissions, of volatile emissions, especially of monoterpenes, and particular blends from plants in order to locate their host. So with some insects and hosts, we do know that. With others, it hasn't really been studied. Certainly a world of opportunity for study out there. But again, this type of interaction where trees are talking to insects and terpenes and vice versa is just rich for study and certainly something to really dork out on. And for me to find absolutely fascinating that all this is going on. And, for me, it makes me rethink how I feel about plants, knowing that when they're under attack, they protect themselves. They take steps to stay alive. They engage in chemical warfare. This is a world that we don't know much about, stomping around up here in our shoes.
I'll tell you what, I'll tell you a way that you could make a fortune is you come up with a terpene that repels spider mites.
There are plenty of terpenes that repel spider mites. There have been some products that have been patented, but for some reason I wasn't able to figure out why, probably just company failures. The patent expired and the product didn't remain in the market. So there's more opportunity there as well for spider mites and russet mites and a number of other mites that infect cannabis, where we could easily breed cannabis varieties that have phytochemical profiles that are naturally resistant to mites. And I think that this is a direction that we really need to start going in, where we need citizen scientists to start experimenting now and reporting this information so that we can get control over things like aphids and mites.
Just don't blow anybody up.
Yeah.
Try not to blow anybody up.
Including yourself.
I can't find this movie anywhere. It's not listed in his movies.
Who did you say it was?
Michael Douglas.
I don't think it was Michael Douglas.
I don't think. I thought it was. It might have been Kirk. No,
I don't think it was Kirk Douglas.
Was it
I don't think it was either one of them. No, definitely not.
I thought it was the Ghost in the Darkness, but no, that's not.
No, it's not. You guys go in and you guys carry on and talk. Where's my screen?
So okay, I got a question.
Yeah.
So many terpenes out there. Individually, they do. Some things are good for the industry. Some things are good for health. And it says here in your blog here that there are actual terpenes for treating cancer.
Yeah, absolutely. The terpenes, again, are very well studied, and they have been shown, many of them have been shown to be anti-cancer agents in a number of different ways, whether they are able to shrink the size of tumors or they prevent angiogenesis, which is the formation of blood vessels that keep tumors alive. Lots of different ways that terpenes have been shown in, of course, a laboratory setting to be anti-cancer. Interestingly enough, although they're well-known and potent anti-cancer compounds, when I got into researching the flavonoids, it was exhausting to discover how well researched the flavonoids are and how they also are extremely anti-cancerous in a variety of different ways. So this book is absolutely loaded with information about anti-cancer terpenes, all the different studies that are out there that are relevant to that terpene and all the different cancers or types that they've been shown to treat. And, you know, I think that we need to start cross-referencing where terpenes and flavonoids and cannabinoids all intersect with certain types of cancers and look at synergistic medicines based on these compounds. Terpenes have also been shown to be synergistic with many of the leading chemotherapeutic agents. So when we talk about synergy, we're really talking about things that happen outside of the endocannabinoid system, which could also happen in the endocannabinoid system. But we talk about synergy because it's important to understand that terpenes aren't just synergistic with cannabinoids, they're also synergistic with existing chemotherapeutic agents. And they, in some cases, can help deliver chemotherapeutic agents as well as enhance the effects. And this is all becoming increasingly more well studied.
The one delivery system that we do know here at the 420 Radio Show is cannabis. What other plant matters, or is there man-made terpenes as well that can do the trick as well? Or
I mean, that's kind of a question that comes up a lot. You know, a molecule is a molecule. So whether you have sourced beta caryophyllene from cannabis or from, which is probably a more likely source, black pepper, it's the same molecule. The molecule doesn't know any difference and it doesn't perform any differently.
We say the same thing about THC and CBD. It doesn't matter what plant it comes off of, whether it's a hemp plant, CBD is still going to be CBD. THC is still going to be THC. It's still all of the other terpenes and cannabinoids on the plant that actually make it work.
So what are the other delivery systems that are out there that you can get terpenes and flavonoids?
Well, I mean, first of all, I would argue that cannabis is an inefficient delivery system of terpenes, especially with the most common forms of administration, smoking and vaporizing. We're chemically altering these compounds and getting them in very, very small quantity, certainly not in any therapeutic quantity, unless you're talking about concentrated oils with very specific phytochemical profiles. So, you know, one of my missions is to help people realize, and this is something that I learned early in my research, is that, and I just put a video out about this earlier this week, is that you don't need cannabis to get terpenes. And in fact, you'd be a little bit foolish to try to get terpenes from cannabis because it's an inefficient producer of terpenes. Yes, it's very cool that they have these cultivars that have tons of different terpenes and different people realize, and this is something that they sorry, I heard an echo there and got lost.
Yeah, I was pulling up something and it echoed it.
No, but I understand what you mean. There's the amount of terpenes in cannabis, because in Canada on our labels, we're labeling terpenes. And on our cannabis, our terpenes are coming out with, 0.2%, 0.1%. Well, that's a very small amount of terpene to try and collect. If you can collect the same terpene off another plant, then that just makes more sense. We had the guy, we were talking about it last week, the guys that are pulling CBD, is it CBD that they're pulling out of orange peels?
Yes.
Yeah, they're making cannabinoids out of corn and orange peels.
In Japan, or something, right? Or China.
Yeah. China.
If they can pull more CBD out of an orange peel than you can pull off of say, Addict or something like that, that's a high CBD plant, then all the power to you. Go for it.
Right. Yeah, and this is a conversation we'll need to start having soon in the cannabis industry. And in particular, as we continue the discussion about terpenes overall being an important part of who we are as humans, is that we should source terpenes from their host plants. For instance, again, if you want beta caryophyllene, you would go to black pepper and maybe blueberries. If you want limonene, you would go to the citrus fruits. If you want myrcene, you would look to celery. Cannabis does not produce these terpenes in a way that's efficient to source them therapeutically or industrially, commercially, etc. And Susan Trapp, who there's commentary from her in my book, she is certainly the world's leading expert on terpenes. She studied the biogenesis of terpenes. She agrees that cannabis isn't an efficient source of terpenes. So the best source of terpenes is eating correctly, eating foods that are high in those terpenes, and that's pretty easy to do for most people in developed countries. And with that said, it's important to recognize cannabis for the value that it provides, which is, as far as we know today, it is the most efficient producer of cannabinoids.
We should just let Dale turn his mic on.
Yeah, I think so. Dale, turn your mic on and ask your questions, please.
Wasn't Horatio extracting limonene from orange peels and then selling the isolate in Canada?
You can absolutely do that. That's where it's usually industrially produced, is from orange peels or the waste products of the orange industry.
I can't remember his last. I can't remember his last name offhand, but he was a Canadian fellow. He just passed away last year. His rig let go on him and got him right in the head.
Oh. Not good.
No.
Out.
Yeah.
If anybody has any questions that's listening, please feel free to ask.
Yeah.
That's
we're going to make them answer you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lots of ways to ask. It'll show up here in the thingy. That's the other reason why I don't like using Twitter, is we don't get the chat back. They see what we're typing, but they don't get we don't get theirs. So, But so we're chatting with Russ Hudson, the author of the big book of Terps. We got lots of stuff to talk about, that's for sure. What time is it? It's only 7:30.
Yeah. Normally you would play a song, but
I've got some funny stuff loaded here that we're going to watch. It's only 2 minutes long. It's enough for a pee.
I have 2 joints rolled here, and I don't know why, so I'm going to smoke one.
This is the 420 radio show. I'm going to load this thing up, and we're going to watch some. This hour is 22 minutes. We'll be back after this is done. Oh, where's the button? There's the button.
It's a residential neighborhood. We need to keep the peace while preserving the right to protest. It's a thin line. A blue one. Okay, you're gonna need you to move along. You here for the protest?
No, we're here for the bands and the hot tubs and bouncy castles.
That's the protest.
Oh, dude. It's almost Canada Day.
We're protesters? Rad. What are we protesting?
It's a trucker protest.
Oh, no. I like trucks.
Food trucks.
Ice cream trucks.
Ice cream truck is a food truck. Whoa.
It's not anti-truck.
Then what's it for?
Well, it was against vaccine mandates.
Good. I hate vaccines. I don't put anything in my body unless I know exactly what it is.
Hey, you want some of this?
What is it?
I don't know.
Sure.
Okay, move along.
What is he going to say?
He's a protester.
Why is he honking?
That's how they protest.
So if I hunk, we could stay?
No. Okay. Please don't. You can't just honk and get your way.
Well, they can.
No, well, yes, but okay, well, that's different because they.
Officer! Someone stole my weed!
Someone stole our weed!
Go.
Hey, Mary Jane Baker. No, I'm Mary Jane Baker. Wait, can we do that again?
Mary Jane Baker, take 27.
Hey, I'm Mary Jane Baker, and you're listening to 420radio.ca.
You're listening to 420radio.ca, Canadian Cannabis Radio.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You want music? Rock, punk, metal, alternative music. The Coverage Radio Show has what you want. Every other Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on 420radio.ca. Hosted by DJ Michael Alvich, bringing you new and retro tunes from both major and independent labels. Only on the Coverage Radio Show. Radio Show. Radio Show.
And we're back, but I forgot to shut the video off.
And
now we're back.
And there was an echo.
There was an echo.
There was an echo through the 22 minutes. But it's funny as hell, 22 minutes.
Yeah, it's funny as hell. Well, I'll try and see what happens with the other one. I think I know what's up.
Cool. Don't let it happen again, Al. It wasn't that bad. Hillary says it wasn't that bad, but it was enough that
it's because I shared the tab audio as well. And it played twice through it. Okay, doesn't matter. Anyways, we're back. It's the 420 Radio Show. We're chatting with Russ Hudson about terpenes and stuffs like that. Why don't we while we're thinking about things to talk about, why don't you tell me what you find interesting about terpenes that a layman like myself might go,
Put the guy in the spot.
No, I mean, there's really so many different things that you could say. I think the most interesting thing for the layman is to learn how prolific terpenes are in virtually everything that we do, especially Canadians and Americans who have access to rich supermarkets and parks. So to know that you can get therapeutic compounds by, for instance, going for a walk in a pine forest or any coniferous forest. That's what Japanese forest bathing is based on. The inhalation of monoterpenes, mostly pinene and myrcene, two of the three most common terpenes in cannabis. The layperson who uses paints and paint thinners might be interested to know that most of those products are based on terpenes and are dependent actually on terpenes in order to function correctly.
Yeah.
For the average person to know that every time they're eating a piece of fruit or some kind of vegetable, they're taking terpenes into their body. And, you know, when you are using any kind of general household products, from detergents to deodorants, hair gels, lotions, it's just absolutely ridiculous. If you go, for instance, into your medicine cabinet right now or your bathroom and look through these products, you will assuredly find terpenes in them. And I think that is pretty fascinating as a starting point for the layperson to understand, like, the prolific nature of terpenes and how they're so prolific in nature and in commerce and industry and medicine. It's a little bit difficult to even grasp how terpenes are so common in our lives already, and when most people know nothing about them. I think that's a pretty fascinating feature right there.
There's a reason why people from centuries ago that now they call monks and that they used aroma in their therapies and in their preaching. And I mean, one of the aromas that I love, probably one of the biggest aromas I love, is Neg Champa. Very old, perfumey. It covers up every smell. I've been using it to cover up my weed smell all my life, pretty much, all my adult life. But I noticed
Neg Champa is the smell of every bong store and head shop in Toronto and everywhere.
Exactly.
What's that?
Yeah.
Neg Champa. It's an Indian incense on a stick.
Oh yeah, I see. If I owned a cannabis store, I'd be burning patchouli.
Yeah,
because it smells more like hash.
One smell that really gets to me, which Paula used to use in the lounge all the time, is sandalwood. Burning sandalwood, doing her prayers.
I have sandalwood essential oil for some products, and it's ripe.
Are terpenes involved in allergies as well, do you think?
Yeah, it's fairly well known in sort of dermatology, in certain circles, skincare circles, dermatologists, that terpenes, when they oxidize, can be irritants for some people. In particular, linalool, which is added to astonishing amount of products. When this is oxidized, it can be an allergen for a lot of people. In fact, in Europe, they're trying to get it added to patch tests, and may have succeeded within the last couple of years. So there are some concerns there, but of course, it's from the oxidation products of terpenes, and what I've looked at, rarely with the actual compound itself.
So are there smells that don't have terpenes? Or if it's a smell, there's a terpene involved?
No, certainly there are other chemical constituents that smell. There are also terpenes that don't smell.
Okay.
So you have both of those things going on. In cannabis, for instance, it's likely that the strawberry and banana smells of certain chemovar's are due to esters. And because of recent work that was published by Abstracts in collaboration with Max Montrose and the Trichome Institute, we now know that the skunky smell of at least certain chemovar's comes from sulfurs. So we have a lot going on in cannabis in addition to the terpenes. But in general, the monoterpenes are the most potent smell and sort of aroma. Of course, that's the pinene, myrcene, limonene. Those are the three, top ones.
So when you go to the limonene, explain to me how limonene can have two different smells.
So there are two different isomers of limonene. There's also two different isomers of linalool.
I was just going to ask you if it was like that with the cannabinoids, because you've got the THCA, blah, 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 blah. You have the same thing in the terpenes?
No, that's a bit different, because THCA is the acidic version of the molecule. Okay. So you're actually chemically changing it to then make it into THC.
I meant the subcategories.
You mean like alpha and beta?
But with limonene, it's not a subcategory. Some will smell like lemons and oranges, and some will smell like pine.
Correct. And that's
okay.
Those are the two different isomers. So basically those molecules are the same molecules, but they're mirror versions of each other. And even though they're so very close, they still produce extremely different properties. So a lot of terpenes have this feature. Terpinolene, for example, which is a top 10 terpene in cannabis, one of my favorites, is actually an isomer of terpenine, which isn't even, I think, within the top 20 terpenes in cannabis. So you have a isomer of terpenine occurring more commonly in cannabis than you do the sort of the parent compound.
Lemon seems to be the key word in there, though. Why is that? Like a lot of the good weed that you get out there has a lemony taste?
I don't know. I kind of like this stuff that has the piney taste too.
Well, I was just going to say, there's piney taste, there's different tastes, but
right.
A lot of the ones that you see have a lemony taste. A lot of
yes, and that doesn't mean that it's limonene. It could absolutely not be limonene. It could be terpinolene. It could be a blend of terpenes that are creating that smell. And this is one of the best examples that we have of synergy. Is the aroma of a certain strain is not due to one single constituent, it's the combination. And I think that's important to keep in mind as you talk about the different smells and flavors, that it's really hard to pin it down to one. And in all honesty, if you have a jar of limonene, pure limonene, and you smell it, it's not going to smell pleasant, and it certainly doesn't smell like citrus fruit.
Really?
No.
No, it smells more solventy. It needs to be diffused in order to create that sort of effect.
It's a big time concentrate, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and actually, Dale shared a link with us with Horatio's stuff.
Yeah, hash oil stuff.
And I was just looking at it. Castoreum, Dale, and it's called limonene hash oil. Is what Horatio Delbert was making. And I would say he's got, it's made by its limonene hash oil, or limonene hash oil, extracted with limonene and THC concentrate. So it's very likely it's a distillate that he's added terpenes to.
It's not a hash oil.
No, because it's clear. You see it, it's clear. It's distillate.
Yeah, and he's added the limonene back in, which is fine. You can mad scientist all kinds of combinations, and the industry's definitely going to get into that, but it's not hash oil.
Why'd Marijane write that when she could have just asked?
She didn't want to interrupt us.
Oh, interrupt us.
You guys were chatting. I was just listening because you guys were saying basically it could smell like limonene, but not be limonene. And I've been trusting my nose the entire time. So now I'm like, well, now I can't really trust my nose.
You still need to trust your nose. What you need to do is we need better science so that when you smell a strain or a chemovar in a bag and your eyes light up and you're like, fuck yeah, that's the strain that I want. There's something happening there. As I was talking about earlier, there's all this communication going on between different entities with terpenes, and you're also receiving that communication when you know this is the stuff that I want. And for instance, for me, it might be like super silver haze. When I smell that, I know that I want that. It talks to me in some way, but you might not like that. So I think that you still need to trust your nose. And when your nose tells you this is the good shit, get it. Even if the expectation of what you've been told at the dispensary doesn't match that sort of result that your nose shows. We need more testing so that when your eyes light up and you find a strain that just makes you go, wow, then you need to know, what is that strain? I need to know the top 3 constituents at least as far as the terpenes to understand this is what I need in a strain and this is what I like. And then you could sort of get into why. But first, trying to get that consistency is very difficult. And until then, you do need to trust your nose.
Well, I think the point that I was trying to make is when you said that it could be, what was that other thing that could influence the smell? So was it a gas? No.
Well, it could be an ester, could be sulfur.
That's it, the sulfur.
Right.
If one of those aspects are manipulating what I believe is the smell that I like, I'm just like, I don't know. Because don't get me wrong, I'll try anything once. And I'm generally, I keep it up here. I keep it up here of like what type of cannabis I do like and what I don't. But I guess I really shouldn't do that, because depending on cultivar, lemon sour diesel from one producer is going to be different terpene profile than another producer.
Absolutely. And this is something we really need to get an understanding of in the cannabis industry. I've been talking to a lot of hemp farmers recently who do have a pretty good understanding of it. And not only is that true, but it goes far beyond that. For instance, the terpene profile of the back corner of your field could be completely different than the terpene profile of the front corner. For instance, let's say the back corner was exposed to aphids, and it increased its phytochemical content so that farnesene was the primary terpene, and you harvested during that stage, you could have totally different phytochemical content in the same exact field.
Yep.
So this is why I say you have to trust your nose, because the chances that any dispensary anywhere in the world is delivering consistent phytochemical content is almost zero.
But you want to trust your taste too, because that's the flavonoids, right? Your taste.
The nose is the first.
Despite the sort of precursor to the word flavonoids, there is no flavor association with flavonoids, at least none that we know of. Flavonoids are about color. So in cannabis, the blues, reds, and purples that you see are due to different types of flavonoids, and in the wider plant kingdom, typically coloration is due to flavonoids, and that's related to antioxidant protection, UVB, solar radiation protection, and some other relief of abiotic stressors from plants. But primarily, they're known for the production of color.
Okay, so stupid question.
That's not a stupid question.
Where does the taste come from in cannabis?
Oh, that's a stupid question.
Terpenes. It's mostly terpenes.
So terpenes are both smell and taste.
That's correct. Yes. Okay. And you'll have other, like esters are imparting some taste in there as well. We just don't really know how much. We're going to get into that in another year. But certainly the terpenes are well-known flavor molecules. This is another use of terpenes. They're in food products that you wouldn't believe. They're so embedded in especially prepared products that they're not even considered an ingredient. They're considered sort of a precursor product. So they don't have to report those in the ingredient list. But chances are, if it's a processed or packaged food, there's terpenes in there in some way. They add terpenes to the packaging as deterrents from certain insects and bacteria and fungi. It's another section that terpenes are widely used in candies and beverages to give maple flavors and to give piney flavors, and to give, for instance, with linalool, you have that sort of lavender flavor. Linalool is the number one constituent of a number of different types of cinnamon. So when you think of cinnamon flavorings, you could be talking about linalool. The flavor implications of terpenes are extraordinarily well studied. I recommend checking out a website called the Good Sense Company. For 40 years, they've been compiling information about exactly this. What do these compounds smell like? What do they taste like? It's an excellent source of information about that. And in fact, PubChem often uses information there, in their collaborative and verification processes.
Cool. You just
what is that word that Dale wrote there? I can't even.
But before we get to that, before we get to that, let's bring up the fact that we had Cheryl and Haley Rose on a few years ago.
Should have them on again soon.
Yeah, we should actually. But that was one of the things that they found with Haley. She's got a severe form of epilepsy that they've been treating for years with cannabis. And what they found was her being able to go into the dispensary, smell each strain, would pick which strain was going to work best for her that day or at that time. In Canada, we don't legally have that option. We can't go to one of the dispensaries and smell the cannabis.
Not in the legal stores.
Actually, we can't even legally look at what's inside the package.
Yeah, the only way that I can find out if the weed that I'm buying from the legal store is fresh enough for me to buy is to squeeze the package. That's all you're allowed to do.
And that doesn't work if it's coming into a tin can.
That's right.
But if it's coming in a tin can, it's sealed at the right moisture content anyway, so it's not an issue.
Are things that bad down in the States? Are they like that, or is it that controlled? Can you just walk?
It's pretty similar. There's some sort of lip service being given where a dispensary might put out, those special containers. They're clear, but they have some ventilation in them. But those same samples sit in those containers day in, day out. It's a terrible representation of what might actually be behind the shelf. It's just kind of a joke to make connoisseurs a little bit happy, but real connoisseurs know better anyway.
If you're a connoisseur in Canada, you're not buying legal weed. Sorry to say, but
that's true. Yeah. That's not something connoisseurs do.
I mean, I Marijane also shops on the reservation as I do during the summer, anyways, and the quality of the middle of the road strain from the reservation dispensary is about the same as the bottom end of the legal scale.
Not even.
No? You think it's worse than that?
I think it's better. You want to talk price?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. That's what I'm getting at. I mean, you can get some really nice.
Oh, you got to make her big.
Hold on.
Going to make you big.
Average
there
size. Like average size buds from the legacy market, from the indigenous market.
Yes.
And if you go to the legal market here,
I got tiny little buds.
Here. You get stick. You
smaller.
Get stick and little buds.
Always.
And I'm not gonna lie, I paid $100 for 3 ounces. So
at the res, you can get a $55 ounce at the res now. So.
She just got three for $33 a piece.
Yep.
And I got a free pre-roll. I got a free pre-roll and a free drink.
Because you spent $100. See, that's a good deal.
Okay, so good you brought that up. The drinks, they're using terpenes in a lot of the drinks now, correct? You can infuse them and same kind of things that you can do with oils and stuff, right?
They're using distillate, aren't they?
Are they?
Because that's where I don't like these drinks.
Yeah, I don't like distillates. That's what I like. I don't like distillates, but there's other ways to make them. Marcel knows this.
There was a company.
I don't give out secrets though.
I can't
sell
remember
secrets.
who it was. They made like a Kool-Aid powder, a THC infused Kool-Aid powder. Do you remember, Al? It was at Karma Cup.
Yeah, they infused the sugar is what they did.
Was it Thompson Caribou? I can't remember.
It was
Thompson Caribou had a syrup.
They had a syrup. They had like a cough syrup, and they just. But it was also. It was not a distillate. I don't think. No.
From what I heard, it wasn't oily like that.
I'll ask Dave if he wants to come on. We can talk about stuff like that. He's still around.
I would like to try.
Anymore, but.
I would like to try a drink that didn't taste like it had oil in my mouth afterwards with this like.
And that's the.
I can do that. I can do that for you with an alcohol.
They had that issue at the beginning. Remember, Marcel? Tweed had that issue. Was it Tweed? I think it was Tweed.
Well, yeah, they tried. The problem
is sticking to the can.
Right. The cannabinoids are an oil. They're an oil base. So to mix them with water, you've got to use an emulsifier, which means the water is now thick. It's not water. Or you can use what's called nanotechnology. And basically what it is it's using sound frequency at a particular pitch to dissolve the oil compounds of the cannabinoids into small droplets that are interspersed evenly through the liquid. Expensive technology, either one, but if there's any separation, the oil sticks to the inside of the can.
Yes, that's what was
happening. When you go to drink it, the oils all stick to the inside of the can, and you're drinking the liquid,
and you're not getting any
a small percentage of what was actually in that can.
We've got some people making comments on our stream here, and I'm not sure what they mean by rectify this. Rectify what?
Will there be a rectify this?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I
And
can understand what you're saying, John, but
Alexis says hi.
Alexis.
Hi, you're welcome. We're here every week. Enjoy.
Yeah, the terpenes in drinks would fall. You have water soluble terpenes, or?
Yeah, there are a few.
Yeah,
but most are not.
No, most are still that non-polar type oil base.
You can't get it to dissolve in a water.
Right.
Not easily, no.
No. So they would have the same issue with terpenes to incorporate it into a beverage. So a beverage that would incorporate it easily is an alcohol, because the alcohol will dissolve the cannabinoids as well as the terpenes, and it would mix very well. And you could come up with some half-decent drinks that way. But again, you're still back to that whole issue of that's an alcoholic beverage.
Yeah, regulations won't allow that.
Speaking of alcoholics,
unless you want to make a drink with a natural fat, such as milk, that has a high fat content, you can do that.
Or something.
Right, something like that has that fat base, not a water base.
Yeah. Hot cocoa would work.
Like an ice cream.
Hot cocoa works extremely well. That's why I make hot chocolate bombs. But they don't work in water. They work in hot milk.
Right.
Hot milk. Well, that's one of the things that I learned a long time ago. One of the first things I learned is that cannabis and milk love each other.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they love each other. They attach to the fats.
That's what I mean. They love each other.
It sounds like you love cannabis and milk together.
And yeah, it sounds like
I
you
can't
love milk.
drink milk anymore.
Well,
that's probably why you overdid it back in the day.
Do you know the only animal that should drink milk? Cow's milk or cows? The only milk humans should drink is from their mothers.
You know, milk's just for getting fat anyways, eh?
Yeah, it's just to add fat. I hope John will come back and explain the rest of his question there.
Yeah, kind of
to rectify
elaborate.
This? Rectify what? Rectify what?
The industry using distillates and
rectify this, man.
That won't be rectified when they can derive THC Delta 8 from hemp and CBD.
Well, it was what we were talking about
THC.
just before he posted that. But anyways, while we're waiting to see if John will reply.
Is it break time? I got to go heat up my tea.
You can go. I got to heat up I got to make a new tea. You want to do another?
Actually, it's
you
9
got
o'clock. We should.
You got something you wanted to,
It's 8,
to share.
Easterner.
Sorry.
Marcel.
Well, I look at my clock. It says 9.
Should we watch the emergency measures one? It's only a minute and a half, though.
Well, she better be quick. She's got a minute and a half.
I'm just heating up my tea. Al's making a whole tea.
Are we? I just do tap tea usually during the show, though. Let it run for a while. Hot water.
Okay, I'm leaving now.
Yeah. Okay. Bye bye now. I only have 30 seconds during the show. Hello. Okay, so I've got this other this hour's 22 minutes video loaded up already, so we can watch that, and then we'll be back with more question and answer period about the big book of Terp with Russ. I've been calling you Ross, haven't I? Must miss Ross. That's what it is. With Russ Hudson, and he is sitting somewhere. Where are you? I forgot.
In Southern Virginia.
Southern Virginia. Well, welcome to Canada for the evening, anyways. Have you ever been to Canada? Have you been up here?
Yeah. Last I heard, I've been barred from entering the country.
Oh, because that cannabis thing?
Because I advised a client, a good friend of mine from Spain, with concerning some business in Canada. He was detained at the airport. They went through his phone and found, my contacts and our conversation there. And threw him out of the country after taking 11,000 euro from him and his wife, instructed him that he should never return and that I shouldn't come to the country either.
Bastards.
Fuckers.
I'm going to test that, though, so we'll see.
Yeah,
come and visit.
Test
Let
that.
us know when you're here. We'll be at the airport. I'll come pick you up. We'll videotape the whole thing.
Just don't have anything with you so you don't have a reason to be detained.
Yeah, right, obviously.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so there's our smiley Trump wannabe.
Trump wannabe? No.
Got a nice smile, no?
No, you can't call him a Trump wannabe. He's more of a Biden wannabe than a Trump wannabe.
Oh, okay.
They don't think the same.
And now,
okay, here we go.
Things are out of control. Justin Trudeau has invoked the Emergencies Act for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And now, you can too.
Fixed.
Hello, Mr. Jones? This is the CRA. It
not
seems
fixed.
you haven't filed your taxes for the last 2 years.
I invoke the Emergencies Act.
What?
I invoke the Emergencies Act.
Sir, you can't do that.
Just watch me. Thanks, Justin Trudeau.
Overwhelmed, stressed, incapable of handling a situation? Invoke the Emergencies Act.
I'm sorry, Gary. You just haven't landed any new accounts, so I'm going to have to let you go.
I invoke the Emergencies Act. You can't fire me.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't. It's a thing. Look it up. Sorry.
Gary?
These special temporary measures help you cope with any urgent and critical situation long after you should have.
Gary, I'm leaving you.
I invoke the Emergencies Act.
I've met somebody new.
I invoke the Emergencies Act.
Damn you, Gary. We have to face this.
I invoke the Emergencies Act.
The Emergencies Act. It's for emergencies. If you fail to act, Emergency Act. Not available in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba.
Hey, this is Cheech. And this is Chong. And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio. What is it? Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time. 420 Radio? Ooh.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Are you an independent musician? How would you like to have your songs played on hundreds of radio stations just like the one you're listening to right now? Join MusicSubmit.com and we'll promote your music to radio stations and blogs in your genre. It's free to set up your account, and we guarantee your music will be considered for airplay by radio stations worldwide. Why not sign up today? It's free. MusicSubmit.com. Radio promotion for indie musicians.
This is how we grow the weed.
Darcy, you're up.
Yeah, Darcy.
Darcy, you're up. We're back. It's the 420 Radio. So, what's that look for, Marijane? What are you eating?
Come on, what are you eating?
Did you bring something for the whole class?
What is it? Is it sauerkraut because you started to love it?
Should we show Russ?
Yeah,
show
should show Russ.
Nasty.
Okay. This happened a few weeks ago, Russ.
3, 2, 1.
It's good.
Makes me smile. Marijane has a thing where she's trying something new every day or so.
And she decided to try sauerkraut on the show. So what did you do new today?
She muted her mic.
Maybe unmute your mic first. No,
Okay.
unmute.
Okay. So today, normally when I have something I need to do and it's like really bad weather like this, because I do not like driving in nasty weather, I would just cancel it. I would just call the person and be like, I'm so sorry. I can't make it today. I can't drive in this. However, I had to go pick up my boyfriend's son and take him to work. And there's no way that he can get to work if it wasn't for me. So my new thing for the day was to just suck it up and go do it.
You saw,
and I did it.
You saw the other day, I'm sure, Mike and Amber's feed. They went off the highway on the 401 there with their camper.
Who's Mike and Amber?
Mike and Amber are very well known in Ontario.
You don't know Mike and Amber?
They were at
Amber
the thing.
Do they have a last name?
McIntyre,
Amber McIntyre,
and Mike.
Oh, the pin girl.
Yes,
yep.
yes.
They had an accident on the highway. They,
but they're okay.
They're okay. Yes,
they're okay.
But
They broke their truck and trailer.
Yep. And that's exactly why I don't drive around with my trailer anywhere.
It's this time of year, man.
Yeah.
But those two are on the road all the time.
Oh yeah, they go back and forth and up and down and everywhere. All of them.
Well, the road.
That's probably their house. Are you talking about they rolled their house then too?
Well,
I don't think so.
I mean by trailer because they're always on the road. They rolled.
Yeah, but it was a camper trailer that it just jackknifed basically.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Yep. On the highway during one of the last storms. Oh, I'm sure it did. Anyways.
Yeah, it's been nasty this winter.
We are chatting with Russ some more. Hi, Russ. How are you? Are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Probably wishes he could go out and smoke a joint.
You don't smoke?
I can just do that.
He's got his bong already loaded.
Perfect.
He's surrounded by cannabis. Look, he's got it.
That leads to a question right there. How do you prefer to intake your cannabis? I'm going to assume because of the terpenes and all the other stuff that you get. Correct?
Yes, but also there has been some pretty convincing evidence showing that filtering smoke through water activates THC. So people who feel that they get higher from smoking a bong are 100% correct. You do get higher from smoking a proper water pipe.
I don't do bongs, but I have a squisher next to me that I enjoy daily.
Cool.
So do you use vaporizers?
No, they don't really work for me.
You don't use chatterizers?
You realize the difference between smoking a bong and vaporizing. What about dabs? Do you do dabs or?
I have, but it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So
you get your best results from a bong.
But what do you mean it doesn't work? Like, do you not feel the same relief? Like the same?
Right. Yeah. When vaporizing or doing dabs, I mean, I can get high, but it only goes to a certain point and it's not satisfying. You know, I feel like I could vape all day long and never get to that satisfied level. It's only when I combust cannabis that I feel, satisfied. And that's probably a chemical answer there. You know, there's something.
I said it for years.
Combustion.
Yeah.
That vaping is not the same as smoking, and then smoking is not the same as eating. My preferred method is ingestion, but that's more of a health thing than anything.
Right, of course.
Can you explain to me why some people like to mix cannabis and tobacco? Is it a terpene thing?
No, I think I wrote an article about this years ago. I think it's titled "How Europe is Getting It Wrong on Cannabis," and there are several different reasons, but often it's cultural. That people have just been doing it for a long time, and the reasons behind that cultural use is one, people get too high, so they want to dilute the cannabis with tobacco. Two, they can't afford the cost of the hash or cannabis, so they again dilute it with tobacco, or they're stretching it, or that's just
how they do it.
That's just how they do it, and obviously they're addicted to the tobacco, and to varying degrees may be addicted to the cannabis as well.
What do you have to say about that, Marcel?
Kiss my ass. I
have something to say to that.
I don't mix.
I'm a blunt smoker, so
I don't mix tobacco. I don't mix tobacco with pot.
No, you mix it with hash. I realize that.
Hash and oil.
Yeah.
Because I'll make an oil joint or I'll make a hash joint.
But
I'll use tobacco.
We also
did you know that we have nicotine receptors in our body?
Mm-hmm.
We have opioid receptors in our body.
So one could say in plant form, not in like actual like opioid, but we would be able to, or possibly require this in small amounts to stimulate our receptors. Right. Yeah, just like the cannabinoid receptors.
So I'm going to go and start licking poppies.
Make sure you take a razor blade and slice them open first, buddy.
Well, you slice them and bleed them a bit, and then chew on that. Whoops, we shouldn't be telling people that. Do not slice poppies.
I used to. When I smoked, I used to mix all the time. But it's also known that tobacco opens your air passage more, and you actually get a deeper toke when you've mixed it. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, but there was another.
I heard
it's actually the opposite.
I heard cannabis opens.
Yes, that's Marijane is correct. That,
which is bad
tobacco
when you mix
restricts capillaries.
Yeah, as soon as you mix the tobacco in, what happens is the cannabis opens it up and allowing the tobacco to get even further to do damage.
That's
what I was understood.
Yeah, but that makes sense as well. Yeah.
Alexis just made a good point, so I put it up.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why we've been here for 15 years doing this, Alexis.
Yeah, she's joining us from Iowa. Well, you join us every Friday. We're here.
Nice. I'm curious where Russ is. You're in the States?
Yeah, I'm in Southern Virginia right
He's
now.
already said he's in Southern Virginia about 20 times tonight.
Oh, I missed it. I'm sorry.
She was sniffing on some terpenes. Can you get any benefit as far as a stone from sniffing terpenes?
I mean, the evidence shows that myrcene, when volatilized, is a sedative.
What do you mean volatilized?
It's in the air.
Okay.
So it's been made into a vapor.
We lost Marijane.
Limonene has also been shown to have very specific therapeutic effects, including decreasing the heart rate and instilling a feeling of calm over study participants who unknowingly breathed limonene that was pumped through the vents. So there are several different terpenes that have effects that are actually normally attributed to cannabis. For instance, Ethan Russo, who is the leading researcher in the entourage effect, has said repeatedly that the calming effect attributed to CBD is 100% wrong. It's not attributed to CBD. It's attributed to myrcene, and the preponderance of evidence shows that he is almost certainly correct in that regard. Another reason why we need to start talking about terpenes and why we need to start making the separation that just because it's a cannabinoid doesn't necessarily mean that it's some kind of holy grail. And there are other compounds that could be doing that work. Myrcene is certainly one of them. We're
just getting used to the whole cannabinoid thing and the THCA and Z and V and XYZ.
And new ones they keep isolating.
Yeah. So I mean, like we were talking at the beginning of the show, I started doing this as an entertainment thing 15 years ago, and it's come into more of a medical thing because of Marcel and Lori before him and Jess and a whole bunch of people. And it's my classroom, and it's how I learn, right? That and YouTube, although I'm careful about YouTube.
But he brought up the point earlier. It's because the plant has been so restricted to research that we've had to backyard scientist everything to get to where we are today. And things that they're coming out with scientific papers now, we figured out 5-10 years ago, right? So they're slowly catching up and proving that we were right all along. It's great, but the science has still got a long ways to go because us in the background industry or the backyard scientists are finding out way more every day of how we can make this stuff work better. And a good example is enhancing with terpenes.
Now, are terpenes on the restricted list like some cannabinoids are? Depend?
No.
Not in Canada.
Okay. But are they in the States, Marcel?
No.
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, absolutely not. All the terpenes are generally recognized as safe.
Yeah. But do you remember years ago they used to...
For now.
Yeah.
For now.
The police raids, when they'd raid a guard, they would wear masks and everything so that their officers wouldn't get high. And we
I
used
wish
to
I
laugh.
had loaded that reporter thing by the fire.
Yeah, but we used to laugh at them doing this because we knew that they
There's
weren't getting
reasons.
high. They were just getting that nice, relaxed, calming effect from the terpenes that we get subjected to whenever we're growing. That's why growing is so therapeutic for us.
Well, I know that this year, Russ, was my first outdoor grow at my farm, and I chopped it all down and then put some strings up in my trailer and just sat there for 2 weeks doing my thing and just absorbing in my hands. And I've helped a lot of people trim before, and so I know, don't do the thing with your eyes and stuff like that. But
you still do it.
You still do it. But the when you're surrounded by drying plants, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of chemical reactions going on there, right? So there's a lot of terpenes in the air. There's a lot of air in the air, because they're still making air and they're making other things and they're dying basically. But it takes a while for them to die. I guess what I'm trying to get to is, with pot, when is your max time that your terpenes are like? This is when your little things are perfect, when they're drying, and this looks like that, and you look at your bud, and is there a way to tell your bud is ready by the terpenes and the odors and the smells? And
I thought you were going to say how would you get your maximum terpenes?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Thank you, Marcel.
Well, you can get your maximum terpenes, but as soon as you cut your plant, you start losing your terpenes.
Now, I guess a two-part question is that when they stop being as potent, like they degrade quickly? Is that one of the things that degrades really quickly?
Upon cutting, yeah. I mean, that's what we're really talking about when we're talking about the loss of terpenes from processing cannabis. So the harvest time, as far as the maturity of terpene content, is going to vary greatly from one chemovar to the other. But once you sort of figure that out, because you have to get to know that chemovar, you harvest at the correct time and you have one phytochemical profile at that time. The process of drying and curing is going to completely change that.
Well, I think that we're in for some interesting things coming in the future on this front, because I'm finding that, you look at the gadgets that are out there now. You've got gadgets that if you want a toke, you get a fake joint. You want to use terpenes, you can use this. You want to use this, you can use that. Like, there's something for everything. Are there delivery systems out there for things like terpenes? I guess there would be, because they just infuse them.
Yeah. If you there's a good example in the foreword of my book that was written by Mitch Earlywine, who used to be the co-chair of NORML, National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, which is one of our most prominent marijuana advocacy groups here in the United States for going on 50 years now. And he talks about their experiment of going around with just terpenes in vape pens and allowing sort of random folks to puff on them and report their results. So you can get terpene delivery systems just from vape pens. That's certainly an efficient way of doing it. It's from a marketing and manufacturing.
You're starting to see them on the market, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But you can have gadgets and technology all day long. But going back to what we were talking about before with the harvesting, is even if you harvest at the ideal time and with all the ideal technology, you're going to lose monoterpenes. They're just very volatile. That's what they do. They were, not to say designed, but it would seem that they are designed specifically to volatilize into the air. And not a whole lot that you can do about that, considering that, just movement or heat or light and temperature can all affect those monoterpenes. So you can try to stave off some of those losses of monoterpenes by good drying and good curing techniques. But in the end, if you are looking to get a big dose of myrcene, you could just put myrcene in a vape pen.
And which is what a lot of the vape pens are.
Well, people are going to catch on to that. Like, I mean, are we in for?
But distillate has no flavor.
But are we in for the whole CBD type of thing with the terpenes and the flavonoids as well? Are we going to end up with that?
They already are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't use vape pens. I use my Shatterizer. That's it. And I smoke doobies, right?
Because they already add terpenes to many of the vape products that are on the market.
Well, I know that they re-add terpenes into shatters and other oils and stuff like that, just so that they're there.
But why?
Right? Well, because the process takes them out.
Right. For the vape pens, because they use distillate, there's no taste or smell to distillate, so they have to add terpenes into it to be able to say that it was Kush or whatever.
Yeah, otherwise it's just a pen full of something that gets you stoned.
It's just full of something that's going to get you high for 20 minutes, and then you'll be wondering what happened.
Yeah. Alexis, is it Alexis? Alexis. Yes, she has another thingy she put. I like this being able to chat with people who are listening.
Yeah. It works better. I don't know where they're chatting from. Oh.
In the comments.
No. I'm trying to figure out what the...
LinkedIn. And John
YouTube.
was on LinkedIn as well. And then Roland was on YouTube. I have a feeling that's
Raylan.
The YouTube one is a post or something, a spam post or something. It looks kind of suspicious to me.
Vom NGO.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know either. I don't care.
I don't either.
If it's important, they'll come back and tell us.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
I'm looking at. I'm just looking through your blog here some more.
No, now I want Russ, to tell everybody where they can get this big book on terps.
Yeah, you can get it at thebigbookofterps.com. That's the cheapest way to get it. I can offer hand-signed copies, hardcover copies, of course, shipped directly to your door for $125 out of my office. You can also get it for the retail at like Barnes & Noble or Amazon. Of course, those companies charge much, much higher. It's around $169. So best way to get it is directly through me, a nice signed hardcover at thebigbookofterps.com.
See, that was simple.
There you go. Easy peasy, terpene.
Yeah. The Big Book of Terps.
Big Book of Terps. So what?
I would love to read that book, Al.
What is next? As far as is there going to be a part 2? Or is there going to be?
Yeah. So right now I'm working on the second edition, and what that is going to do is it's actually going to pull out all of the flavonoid content, because I found that the flavonoid market or people who are interested in flavonoids, that demographic is not the same as the people who are interested in terpenes. So I'm pulling the flavonoid content from the book. I'm replacing it with 8 new terpenes that are not currently included in the book. Replacing also, I'm going to add a Chemistry 101 chapter. I think it's important for people to have a basic understanding of organic chemistry before they really tear into this. And then Susan Trapp, who is the world's leading sort of terpene expert, she's going to be writing a chapter on the most sort of cutting edge and leading recent work on the medical side of terpenes. So the Big Book of Terps is going to be devoid of flavonoids. We'll have much more content about terpenes, and at the same time I will produce what will be called the Formidable Book of Flavonoids. That will also be a monstrous scientific text, but that will exclusively feature flavonoids. It will be probably about the same size. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, around this time next year, we should be ready to publish the Big Book of Keys, which is ketones, alcohols, and esters in cannabis. And I may be able to include sulfurs in that book as well, pending size restrictions. These things get a little bit out of hand, and we have to do our best to pare it down. So that's what's coming up next. Also, there is a TV show in development called Terp Talk, and I've written a suite of 18 songs that can help people to learn terpenes. So there's a song about all of the individual top 10 terpenes in cannabis, as well as some songs about like mother compounds and flavonoids overall, and a song about what we were talking about earlier in the show, about not needing cannabis at all to get these terpenes.
So you're a very musical person as well.
I like cannabis.
Right on. Dale, you two could collaborate in some songs.
Some terp songs.
Some terpene songs.
Terpene songs.
It's called Terp Tunes.
Terp Tunes. Dale's not even unmuting his mic now. I guess he forgot he was supposed to be doing the grow segment tonight.
Yeah, no grow segments tonight. No, Darcy had a stone.
Darcy got stoned. That would be a better way to put it. Darcy got stoned and couldn't be here.
He showed us pictures.
Did you see the picture of that stone?
I told him to get another one and make her a set of earrings.
Oh, fuck.
Polish
it looks pretty painful, though.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to do that.
No, it's pretty jagged.
He's had so much practice with them, though.
Oh, I know he's got bad luck with them.
It's not bad luck. He knows how to not get them, but after a month, he'll stop, and then they come back. It's just, I don't even have sympathy for him anymore because it's self-inflicted.
Food related.
It's not food related. He has supplements that he can take that'll stop him from getting them.
Oh, okay.
Right, but they're not cheap supplements, so he cheaps out. Doesn't want to spend the money. He figures he's all better. Then it comes back.
We should set up a GoFundMe page for Darcy's stones.
Yeah, Darcy's Stone Fund. Then everybody thinks that he's just buying pot with it.
So we're just wasting air now. Is there anything that you want to add specifically?
No, because stop right now. Because before the show, you said you guys stop talking about that, save it for the show, and now you're not even going to let us talk about it.
Of course I was. I was going to just ask him if there was anything specific that he wanted to bring up, like maybe he was doing a conference or going somewhere to speak, or
He's speaking right now, but I still want the because I don't know. Does the book have anything on hashining or?
I think it has a cursory mention here or there, but it was very new at the time. I mean, we're talking just
within the last 2 years, yeah.
Oh, right. No, that was for the sulfur with abstracts this fall. So there's a mention, but there's not a big focus because there isn't any research. So there isn't much that I could say about it that would be approaching it from factual place.
Right.
There's a lot of
just
in this, though.
Yeah, but just to catch people up that are listening now, we're talking about a new terpene that they've identified called hashinine, but it's only identified in hash that comes from Morocco and only processed in a certain way. And yeah, obviously there's not enough research on it, but it's a very unique smell. Even if it's a combination of the other terpenes with this, I don't know. They say that it's its own separate terpene. It's possible, but it's a unique smell. I love it.
Interesting.
It's one of my favorites.
My mom always loved the smell of cannabis. She just, I think mostly the skunk smell. Why is it that most cannabis has a skunky smell to it? Is that a specific terpene or something that's involved there?
It looks like that's a sulfur. That's the work that Abstracts has recently produced this fall and published. You know, whether all varieties that have that skunky smell are due to the sulfur, we don't know yet, but it's certainly possible. But we know for sure at this stage that at least some of that skunky scent of some varieties is due to sulfurs.
Huh. Well, that's something that's new to learn, that's for sure.
Right. Yeah.
And sulfurs are very, very potent. Like when you light a sulfur match, it's like instant, right?
True. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Marcel?
I was reading the comments there. I'll show you this comment from Alexis.
Cool.
So she wants to hook up with you, I think.
Cool.
There you go.
Just for some.
You can find them on LinkedIn, I'm sure.
Yeah. And you can find them at the Big Book of Terps.
Right. Russ at thebigbookofterps.com.
That makes it easy.
Yep.
Oh, we got more comments here.
Yeah, I know. We have people in here listening that aren't participating that also comment, but their comments show up in the different spots. We've got to go back and forth to 2 different places to look at comments here.
Yeah.
Which only confuses some of us some of the time. Where are we? 9:33.
Yeah.
Got any more cool shit, or I got some news we can always talk about.
Sure.
I don't know. Does Russ want to stay around, or does Russ want to bail out?
It's up to Russ.
Sure, I'll stick around.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's go take a look at Mike Tyson's new venture.
Yep.
Mike Tyson's teaming up with Click to launch a cannabis mouth spray.
Saw that this morning.
And that's awesome. I mean, I was making buccal sprays, 10, 15 years ago.
Isn't that the best way to administer? Under the tongue? In the mouth?
No, not necessarily.
Up the bum?
Well, that's one way. It depends on what you're looking for and what you want. Buccal sprays. Where you want
it to go to.
Right. With buccal sprays, you got to look at, a lot of times it's going to be an alcohol base as a tincture or an emulsion base as an oil. So you're either going to get a mouthful of oil or you're going to get a mouthful of alcohol.
Not necessarily either.
I'm not sure what Click is doing yet because I haven't gotten there because it takes forever to load this page. But what can happen is you can get a quicker response with a buccal spray, because if you put it into a capsule and you swallow it, then you've got to wait for the enzymes in your stomach to break down the capsule. Then you've got to wait for the cannabinoids to get into your small intestine for the uptake of the lipids that are carrying the cannabinoids. That's why it can take 45 minutes to an hour, whereas a buccal spray, especially with an alcohol, as bad as it is quicker. It has a much faster uptake, and it's more cerebral than physical. So it depends on what you're looking for. But their mouth spray is going to have a bottle that contains 375 milligrams, and each spray has 5 milligrams of an orange punch flavor, and is said to take effect in about 7 or 8 minutes.
I'd like to try that. That'd be good for neuropathic pain.
So what I would suggest is with something like that, one spray and wait and see.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it comes down to it. Very likely it's going to be a distillate, so it's not going to have the same effect as a whole plant extract would. But I wouldn't jam 7 sprays into your mouth first time.
That sounds like something you could make your own pretty quickly.
Like I said, I was doing this, 10, 15 years ago.
Well, I've been making tinctures for a while too, as you know. I've got the
But no, I was doing
and
buccal sprays in little 5 milliliter bottles.
I've been doing just the drops. I used to make. That's what I started making was drops. Right.
All right. What else is new in the news? A couple arrested after baby reportedly test positive for cannabis, and each parent was charged.
Conversation with parents before.
Yeah, each parent charged with chemical endangerment by exposing a child to an environment where drugs are used.
Damn terpenes.
This, of course, happened in Alabama, and it was a couple 20s. They've been charged with felony chemical endangerment after their 1-year-old tested positive for cannabis.
We've heard this story a few times.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't anything new. You got kids, keep your cannabis away from your kids. Yeah, you keep your Tide Pods away from your kids, I hope, and your floor cleaner and everything else. Why not keep your cannabis away from your kids, especially edibles? Because even though the legal market says you can't put packaging that would be enticing to kids, the black market still can do whatever the hell they want. So a lot of them will look exactly like kids' candies. So if it's got cannabis, lock it up. Don't be stupid. Yeah, that's an old story. No, that's a new story
but we've heard about it before.
Old story many times.
We've had a couple of parents on the show that have been charged with things like that before.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's something that Russ might feel the need to join in. There's a lot of talk now in the news about cannabis and COVID. Truth, no truth from your research and stuff like that. Do you think that this could be something that's very serious? I know they're working on it in Israel, where they work on things like that.
I mean, I think what happened with the recent stories about cannabis and COVID is typical of the industry and media in general. Is something was seized upon without having all the facts, and also was seized upon by people who aren't trained to understand the facts and to report on them in the first place. So is there potential for cannabis compounds to be used to treat COVID? Yes. Are we close to that? No. It's very similar to many of the things like I report on in the book, where yes, this was done in a laboratory. Cool, super fascinating, major implications. Can we actually apply it in human medicine? And often the answer isn't even no, it's the processes required to find out are too cumbersome. So it's likely that
it's not worth the money to spend, is what it is.
That could be the biggest part of it, but it's also likely that something else will happen before a particular cannabinoid-based medicine might be available. I think the cannabis industry has a habit of really wanting to believe that cannabis is the savior, and I think that's honorable. And I've made a career of cannabis. My life has been about cannabis for 33 years now. I've been working with cannabis since starting, selling as a kid, street kid, nickel and dime bag. And so I understand, cannabis for me is a savior. Like, I don't know what my life would have become without cannabis, and certainly don't want to imagine life without cannabis. But the tendency to just want to assume that cannabis is the savior and is going to save us from cancer and COVID is
because it's the big story now. Yeah, it's the big story now. So quick change of pace here. Okay. What about psilocybin and other mushrooms and things like that? Are there terpenes and flavonoids and?
Oh, there's flavors to mushrooms. It's called shit.
Of course there are. But do they have the same kind of chemical makeup as?
No, I don't think that they do. I think they're quite different. I assume that they must have terpenes, but we're probably not talking along the same lines. But I really don't know. I haven't studied that aspect of mushrooms. I did study mycology a bit when I was younger, and experimented with lots of different and sort of funky types of mushrooms outside of the psilocybin range. So I don't know exactly what those compounds are. I think it's important that we start to take a look because we know this as good medicine, and it needs to be available to the people as soon as possible. And the way that we're going to be able to do that is talk scientifically about it.
We're
actually doing trials in Canada.
Trials right now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
for mental
and
health.
we have Oregon and Colorado where you can buy cannabis. Mushroom edibles. I recently flew to Colorado. I work for a cannabis consulting firm in Colorado, and we had a company Christmas party, and we're able to freely consume different mushroom products and had a fantastic time. So this is already happening. And Mitch Earlywine, who I talked about earlier, who wrote the foreword for the book, he does a lot of work in this regard. So if you don't already follow him, you should check out his work. That's Mitch Earlywine. He's the
Do me a favor and
send
me his information, because that's somebody that I want to follow and have on the show.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're going to ask him about terpenes and mushrooms. You know that.
There we go. Well, we do know a few people that will know the answer to those questions, but because they're still illegal, even though they're in the industry, they can't come out and talk about it, which sucks. It's like back 15 years ago with pot.
Right.
Shut up and just use it.
But in some countries, there's still a lot of those researchers that can't come out and talk.
Oh, yeah. For sure. We just have to tap into that. We haven't really tried to tap into that market quite yet, but we're going to.
Get the researchers that are feeding the other researchers in legal countries. But more and more countries are becoming legal. I mean,
okay.
I have never expected Thailand to do it. So,
Dale, I'm playing it right now. Just a sec. This is something that Dale's trying to come up with.
What?
I bet he didn't think I could play that through. That's really good, bud.
We should get Dale on the show.
Yeah, we should have Dale on the show sometime. So we'll play that when he's done doing that, doing his thing.
We'll make him play it live.
Oh yes, we will
on the show.
Yeah, with a full band and everything.
Wait, we'll have Russ join him. What do you play, Russ?
Yeah, what do you play?
Several different things, but mostly guitar.
Oh yeah.
I dabble. Yep. I play a few things, but nothing really. Yeah, I just play for fun. That was recorded with COVID. He said.
That's how he got that scratchy voice.
Yeah, there you go. Jamming with Jail. Yeah.
That's why he's got his mic muted, because he's got that scratchy voice. I think it's awesome. That's why I keep trying to make him talk.
Raspy. When I first started doing, when you start doing stuff like that, you want to try and find a voice. And the guy I was doing the show with, Dave, he had a booming DJ voice. He was the DJ at a big club here in Toronto. So I started talking like this, but nobody liked it. It was like, I don't know.
Like
it worked for Wolfman Jack back in the day,
Yeah.
But
now you're just copying Wolfman Jack.
No, I'm just me.
Got to be yourself, man. Be yourself.
So, Russ, do me a favor and tell folks where they can find you, your socials, all that stuff. Once again, please.
Cool. Yeah. My full name is Russ Hudson. I'm pretty easily found with any search term related to my name and cannabis or marijuana. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram. The book is hosted on my website, thebigbookofterps.com. And people are free to reach out to me at russ@thebigbookofterps.com.
And if you want to be a guest on the show, hit one of us up. We're easy to find. Just look up the 420 Radio Show or 420radio.ca. What else you got, Marcel?
This one's funny.
Okay.
Not kind of funny. Here's a funny bit of news for you. In Australia during the pandemic, a lot of places have been shut down, and a gentleman that owned a Titanic-themed restaurant in Australia came to check on his property and right away called the cops. And had the cops come because he has no idea how 200 plants ended up on the roof of his restaurant. So growers in Australia have been using the lockdowns to their advantage, and they're going to the roofs of these buildings that aren't being occupied and growing cannabis on the roofs. So that one had 200. How many plants did they get away with? I think it's hilarious.
How many haven't been planned? How many haven't been found?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a pretty ingenious idea.
I remember a story a few years ago in Concord, I think. There was a donut shop that was turned into. Do you remember where the original Eddie Shack donut shop was in? Was it Concord or something like that?
I don't.
Anyways,
no, because I didn't hang out in Toronto.
Somewhere near there was a restaurant that was just going about their business, and then eventually somebody saw the lights on above. They were growing. There was hundreds of plants upstairs above this restaurant for years and years and years. They were growing up there. I don't know if the restaurant's still there anymore.
That's like the picture you see on Facebook all the time. Every once in a while, it's a house in England that they got busted because they were growing in the attic of the house, but it was in a townhouse and it snowed.
It just went right through.
No, all the snow over their grow house, because the ceiling's going to be heated from all the lights, had no snow on it, but the neighbors on either side have like 6 inches of snow, and that's how they ended up getting busted.
That's how they found out they were growing at the old Moslem brewery as well. They started seeing things like that.
Yeah, areas where there's no snow on the roof when there should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an easy way to find a grow in the wintertime.
That's one of the techniques they use in Alaska and up there in the north. They find grow ops, or they used to find grow ops that way very easily. Yeah.
Alaska, they don't have to worry about it anymore. That's why they developed autoflower strains, was for up north.
How many states are now legal?
I was looking at the map the other day. There's very few that there's. I'll tell you.
You don't know off by hand, Russ?
I think it was 37 that last count.
And how many states are there?
50.
Oh, 50.
52, isn't it?
Right, 52.
50. Yeah, 50 or 52.
So that's not even 40 out of 52, we'll say. That's not a lot.
Okay,
in 2022.
Right. What they have is they have it broken down as legal for recreational use, legal for medical use, because there's a lot of the states still have medical programs,
right,
but not a recreational. Then they have
the
illegal states.
Recreational.
And then they have states that have it decriminalized. Even though it's illegal, it's been decriminalized, which means you just get a fine instead of going to jail for 20 years for possession type thing.
The sniff fine.
But does it give me numbers? This, of course, is Wikipedia.
Yeah, 37 states, including the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, have some type of regulated cannabis use, and then 18 of those are recreational.
Yeah.
So that leaves like a dozen or so states that are still have nothing.
Well, let's see. There's like Texas is illegal. The Carolinas are illegal.
California is legal, but and has the weed traffic calmed down between California and Mexico now, or is it still going full?
It's actually been reversing. I just attended a webinar last week with Steve D'Angelo and several folks from Mexico talking about what's happening in Mexico, and they were commenting specifically about the reversal of that flow, and that now a lot of U.S. weed is making its way into Mexico.
That must be upsetting the cartels big time.
Well, we can hope.
I mean,
well, they've just started going legal anyway. So
right, Mexico's doing their own legal process, or they're going to have to fight with the cartels for that piece of the pie.
And Jamaica is doing the back and forth with Canadian weed, right? Are they not? I thought we were talking about that like a year or two ago.
And that's still up in the air. I mean, COVID threw a wrench into everything because it shut down almost everything for the last 2 fucking years.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about
right, and that's kind of screwed everything. So a lot of deals that were going to happen 2 years ago aren't going to happen now because of this shit.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of businesses that are have gone down or are going to go down because of COVID, because of the whole legalization process up here as far as cannabis goes as well. They're starting to drop like flies right now. You know,
what are dropping like flies?
What's that?
What's dropping like flies? The
cannabis businesses. Yeah, in Canada.
Yeah, we're you're going to see
the honeymoon is over.
Well, no, I saw an interesting thing here that Freya, Broken Coast, 2 other ones now have kind of combined for their medical program.
Hexo has just kicked a bunch of people out.
Right, but what you're going to see is you're going to start seeing a lot of these cannabis companies like Broken Coast and Free and these ones coming together with their products to make a complementary product line. So they're pushing now for the medical market, which everybody fucking ignored when legalization came out. They started realizing they need the medical market. So they're now combined forces so that where the medical you can only order from one LP, well, you can now order from this LP that actually is being supplied by 3 other LPs. Right?
Well,
and I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of that.
I think that like I said, the honeymoon is over, and we're going to start seeing some of the sticker arounders not really sticking around.
I want to read what her comment is.
That's why I put it up.
Because she's from Iowa. So states like Iowa might as well not have a medical marijuana program at all. It caps at 3 grams per 3 grams per 90 days? No, you mean 3 grams per day. No, 3 grams for 90 days. Who does that? So not every state that has a program can be counted as having a 6. Well, that's definitely not even a program. 3 grams.
They also don't allow flower.
That's just a way to collect some taxes. That's really.
But that's a gram a month.
Yep.
A gram a month.
Yep.
I have a license for preparation. I have a gram for 30 grams a day.
I get 3 grams a day.
I get 30 a day for my condition. For 90. Oh, yeah. Iowa shouldn't even say they've got a medical marijuana program. They've got.
I've actually tried the 3 grams a day thing, and I do okay. I do all right. I usually only have maybe 6, 7 a day, anyways.
I do. I could do 3 grams a day concentrate. Yeah. Wait, that's what I do. Is 3 grams a day of concentrate.
Yeah, but that's not what they mean. I guess that's what they mean. 3 grams is 3 grams.
No, they're saying 3 grams for 90 days.
Dried flower.
No,
even but even concentrate. Yeah, 90 days, a gram a month of concentrate. Yeah, how do you divide that up? In capsules, 1 milligram capsules.
Wow, that's not right at this time and day. where
Definitely
cannabis is pretty much, well, was the number one subject in the world.
Yeah.
Now not so much, but it's there. You know.
Yeah, it's in Canada, it's kind of been screwed with legalization because the medical side has been pushed back. And Alexa says that's dried flower.
Jeez.
That's 3 grams of dried flower.
Yeah, really, Dale? Dale says he smokes a gram.
Iowa does not allow dried flower. They only allow cannabis preparations. It's 4.5 grams, but there's a waiver that you can get if your practitioner says that you need more. So 4.5 grams of cannabis preparations, but no flower is permitted in Iowa at all.
Wow.
So 4.5 grams of
The
cannabis
lack of
preparations
education,
every
yeah,
90
that's
days,
for sure.
unless
Yeah.
you get a waiver.
My doctor would create some waves signing my prescription in Iowa. No, he needs that every 3 days, not every 90 days.
I don't know. 3 grams would last me of oil would last me a month. Sure, it would.
Dale says he smokes a gram with his with his morning coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
Dale, I smoke 3 joints before I make coffee.
Yeah, it's the first thing I do when I wake up. Although, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't need it right away. Right?
See, if I don't smoke 3 joints, I can't move my joints enough to get pill bottle open to take a capsule.
I can't eat unless I've had 2 or 3 doobies before I can eat. Yeah. So
there's
in the morning, anyways.
In Canada, because of legalization, it kind of screwed the medical patients. Well, it didn't kind of screw it. Definitely screwed the medical patients because all of the producers went after the medical market or the recreational market and left the patients with nothing. Now they're trying to recoup those patients, which is the opposite of what I told them all to fucking do to begin with. But they don't listen to me, so they can learn from their mistakes.
So says Marcel, and that is our time for tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Russ,
know what
been awesome having you on here.
Russ just fell.
I lost my camera.
He fell off his bong.
Man down.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
You're very welcome.
Oh,
Russ.
it's been a blast.
Please come and say hi again, and let us know when you've got your new books coming up. Sure,
Cool.
Marcel would love a copy.
We'll be looking for you for that show too.
For sure. And do me a favor, like I said, send me that contact information because I'd like to have somebody on that really knows that kind of stuff with shroomies and stuff like that.
The funkiness.
You got it.
I can't call them Zoomers. I just can't do it.
They're not Zoomers. They're just funky.
Yeah, I just can't call them Zoomer. Anyways, this is the 420 Radio Show. We're here Fridays 7 till 9 Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for listening. We'll be back.
We'll be back. Peace, love, and hippie shit, and all that other stuff.
All righty, man. Take care.
So what are you doing? Nothing. Why not? I'm trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website. Sounds like a cool website. Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it. You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.